Hey guys, yeah, I'm talking to you. Are you in Hickory, North Carolina or surrounding areas and you like to rock, but you also like to worship? You know what? August 2nd, the Taco Man highly approves this. August 2nd, you have Breaking Darkness Music Festival starting Saturday, August 2nd. You know what? It's August and the 2nd. You're going to have awesome bands such as Disciple, Ignescent, Set for the Fall, Cleansing of the Temple, Counter, my boys is Saving Darkness, Igniting the Sky, Tricord, and not least, not less, but Jennifer Alvarado. The advanced tickets are $15, $20 at the show. It's going to be at the Hickory Premiere at 109 11th Street, Northwest, Hickory, North Carolina. You know what? You can get more information on www.breakingdarkness.com. Tell them Taco Man sent you. It's going to be rocking. Get to see my boy Kevin and the guys from Disciple there. It's going to rock. It's going to roll. It's going to be so awesome. If you haven't seen a Disciple concert, you're in for a treat. So that's it. Breaking Darkness Music Festival.
He taught me how to pray and how to save my soul. He taught me how to praise my God and still play rock and roll. The music may sound different, but the message is the same. It's just an instrument to praise his name.
Jesus is a friend of mine.
Jesus is my friend.
Jesus is a friend of mine.
I have a friend in Jesus.
Jesus is a friend of mine.
Jesus is a friend of mine.
Jesus is a friend of mine. Jesus is a friend of mine. Jesus is a friend of mine.
Once I tried to run and hide, but Jesus came and found me and he touched me down inside. He is like a Mountie, he always gets his man, and he'll zap you any way he can. Zap.
What's up, guys? Johnny Tacos here with another exciting and informative episode of the Johnny Taco Show. Today, we're going back in time. How far? 1981. To a day where life was so much better. I think the 80s were really, really awesome. You had awesome bands with some weird kind of effects, as well as when the Christian music started taking a hold with rock and kind of upbeat kind of music instead of the the same old Psalms music, which I have no problem with it. Just to let you know, the Taco Man loves his Psalms. Without the songs, we wouldn't have music today from Brandon Lake or Elevation Worship or even metal, such as Bloodgood or Striper. We wouldn't have music like that without first, the Psalms out of the Bible. So I'm really, really excited about taking a little trip back into the 80s. Maybe I should have worn my 80s shirt and my glasses. I'm not sure. But before we get to this festival, please, I want to urge y'all to please pray for the victims as well as the families of the floods that happen in South Texas, which is really not that far away from where I live. I think the death toll is at 96 with 120 cases that are still missing, people that are still missing out there. So please pray for the families to get closure for the ones that are missing, if they have already passed on, or safe rescuing, because it's been a week, about 2 weeks now, and after this has been published, and it's just heartbreaking. it's heartbreaking to see, and a lot of them were children, and um, it's just hard as being a father to actually hear about the about all the children that passed on, and thinking about my children and my grandchild and what would happen if that happened to me. So please keep a prayer to them. You know, if you want to help with anything, you know, just go on to I believe Red Cross is out there. So if you would like to find out what you can do to help them out, or just pray. Prayer is a strong weapon that God has given us. So we'll keep you updated on anything that happens. You know, I just can't say enough about that tragedy that happened through a natural disaster. So just keep praying for them, and pray for the family. All right. Also, just letting you know that the summer is here. And Sal and I were going to talk about the summer heat, and you getting up there in the age bracket, you need to be protected. Wear a shade. You know, I wear a funny looking sombrero when I go out and mow the lawn. I might not look hip and awesome, but hey, I'm not getting a sunburn. So make sure you stay shaded, make sure you stay hydrated. And I'm not talking about alcoholic beverage, I'm talking about water. Drink plenty of water. Powerade is good in increments. You can't just keep drinking Powerade because it has a lot of salt and a lot of sugar in it. So drink, kind of rotate water and Gatorade, because the heats go up to 103, 104, 105 here in Texas. So I don't want to hear any bad news from my family that something happened, or if you're at a concert that I'm hosting, or at a concert that Sal's hosting, and you get dehydrated and you get a heat stroke because you know you're not taking care of yourself. And if you have to wear SPF a million sunscreen, that's what I do because I hate having a sunburn because I look like a tomato. You know, it's not very attractive for all the single people out there. You know, if you're trying to look for that love of your life, you don't want to look like you're a vegetable. So, with that, we also have Metal Grace coming up. I'm still trying to get everything situated and what bands to come out and rock out. There's so many bands that have already put their hat, put their name in the hat. So I just have to narrow it down to three bands. Um, and it's hard because everybody is so blessed with the gifts of God to go out there and disciple through their music. So we'll have that coming up soon. Just keep an eye out on my social media pages for more information. Um, I think that's all the news. That's all the news I have. Besides, I came back from Minnesota alive. It's a very weird, weird place. The food, they need hot sauce. They need hot sauce in Minnesota. Just to let you know, the spice of life is in other areas, and it's not in the food. So, but yeah, we made it over there. We saw my son. He's doing security work at a place. I don't know if I'm at will to talk about it. We came to visit him. We saw Mall of America. We spent 8 hours in Mall of America. You're like Johnny Tacos? You're a shopper? No, I'm a follower. I followed my wife everywhere she went. So it was an experience. I can tell you that it was an experience. And being in downtown Minnesota, that was an experience in itself. This is a family show, so I can't really tell everybody what I saw. You know, maybe I should do a Patreon one with the taco bar after hours, stuff like that. Ooh, that sounds like a good yacht rock
Yeah.
radio station. The taco bar after hours. Here's Steely Dan. All right, that's enough. That's enough of that. We have a great show today. I don't know if you have been on the interweb, as the old folks say, um, but you've probably seen him and his hair and him just jamming out to people call it ska, Christian ska. People call it reggae. I heard him say call it reggae. Um, he it to me it's kind of catchy because I'm over here catching myself humming it at work, humming it while I'm driving. I was even humming it before I started the show.
Yeah, I set out to write an earworm.
But we have Sal Polichetti or Polichetti if you're
You're
from
right.
the
You had
old country.
Polichetti. You got it.
If you're from the old country, uh, from Sonseed, which which is really really ironic because you planted that seed in the
Yeah.
internet, and now it's a sensation. How are you doing today, man? You look like you're happy, you're healthy, you're just living that dream.
Yep. Are you kidding? I'm living the dream. I'm 73. I've been retired since I was 58. So yeah, my wife still works, which is a good thing. Somebody's got to work.
Oh man, that's
But
what I, that's
no,
what I
I'm
feel.
having fun. I've done a lot of local theater. But lately, the band has been working a lot. I have a 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s rock band because we're all older than the Pope, actually. So, which we mentioned to people in our shows. We're all old guys. We're playing the same songs that we played 50 years ago. A lot of Beatles, Rolling Stones, Roy Orbison, Monkees, and our crowd is dying off. Let me tell you, there's not that many of our crowd left alive. But even some of the younger people go, "Oh, I know that." So my father used to play those records. So that keeps me pretty busy, and it's good. We work several times a month, so that's nice.
So, being a part of Sunseed, was that your baby? Was that your band that you started?
No, actually, um, uh, if you remember the video from the TV show that we did in 1982, I guess the piano player that was my first wife, Patricia, Dr. Patricia Costa. Her cousin, uh, Joe Chacon, was he was involved somehow with his church in Brooklyn, and it was the church's 75th anniversary, and the bishop was coming to say a mass, which is a big thing. Even in Brooklyn, which is called the borough of churches, there's churches all over, but when the bishop comes, that's a big thing. So they asked him if he would put together a group to play music at the mass. So he called in all his markers, all his friends, including me and Patricia and other people. And we met for the first, a bunch of us met for the first time. A couple of guitar players, percussionists, mostly people who just sang in church. We rehearsed a couple of times. We did the mass. It came out very nice. Then afterwards, or either I don't remember if we went out to dinner afterwards or we went to Joe's house for dinner afterwards. But we were discussing the state of music in Catholic churches, and it was kind of boring actually. Other than folk music and organ choral music, Catholic churches were kind of boring because we were all Catholic. Uh, so a few of us had been in bands, and I don't know whose suggestion it was. Said, "Why don't we just start a Christian band?" He says, "Oh, okay. There's 4 or 5 of us that have been in bands for years, and we can figure it out." And that's how it started. We started out taking the songs from the missalettes, the hymns, and okay, what can we put a drum beat to? What can we put a guitar solo in? What can we do to kind of like folk it up or jazz it up a little bit or rock it up a little bit? And eventually people in the group started writing their own songs. And we were pretty cutting edge at the time. I mean, our first concert we did was in a church basement. Maybe 20 people showed up, maybe. And there were so many of us. At any point, there were between 12 and 15 of us on stage. So we didn't charge any money. We put a box in the back of the room, and whatever you wanted to donate, you donated, because it wasn't, the purpose of it was to spiritually support the community, not to make money. But eventually, all that money we collected bought equipment. It paid for to be honest with you, it paid for the record too. But that was years later. And word spread, and eventually we started to do it once a month. There was a Catholic school that let us do shows there the first Friday of every month, and we would get 200 to 300 people every month show up, and all from kids to grandparents. We get whole families. Well, sure, all the stuff we did was Christian music, and it was pop, and we would throw in a reading, a gospel reading or two here and there to set a tone. We had a committee that would decide on the I wasn't on it, that would decide what other than Christmas and Easter, that would decide the theme of a concert coming up. They would tell the musicians, and then we would research songs that would fit the theme. And it was nice. It was good for a while. Now, the song, Jesus is a Friend of Mine, people, after doing the coffee house for a while, people came up to us and said, you guys should make a record, something we could take home with us. So we checked our finances. We checked with a guy that owned a local recording studio, and he was going to give us a break. So we said, okay, let's record an album. Some people in the group had started to write songs. Patricia had written dozens of really great Christian pop songs. And I was looking at the stuff that they were thinking of putting on the record. And I said to Patricia, I'm not going to even be on this record unless I write a song. So she goes, you want me to help you? I said, nah, I'll figure it out. A couple of weeks beforehand, I was listening to the radio. I was a big AOR, album-oriented rock, FM rock station guy. WNEW FM in New York, played all these rock album cuts. And there was a disc jockey, very famous disc jockey, Scott Muni. And every Friday afternoon, for an hour, he would play imports. Now, those of you that remember before the internet, if you wanted to hear a record that was recorded, say, in England, you had to wait till somebody put that record on a plane and flew it over here. But radio stations had everything. So he would play for an hour stuff that was recorded in England. And I listened to his show for years. And that was the first time we had ever heard Led Zeppelin. It's the first time we ever heard Jimi Hendrix, because he broke in England. In fact, when the Abbey Road album came out, before it was released here, he played the entire album start to finish on his show.
Wow.
Well, a couple of weeks before this, I had his show on, and he played a song. He didn't say it was ska. He said, here's a song by the Selector. And they played a song, Too Much Pressure. Now, if you want to look it up on YouTube, it's pretty catchy. It's the same thing. Oh, too much pressure. Too much pressure. That's it for 3.5 minutes. But it's so catchy, and it's so cool. When I came to, I went in the bathroom with a piece of paper on my lap. Okay, I'm going to write a song. And I had that beat in my head. Well, the song came in about 15 minutes. The words and everything, it just came out. I played it for the group. They kind of didn't, well, okay, you wrote a song, nice for you, They didn't really get it totally. Like the drummer wasn't sure what to do. My keyboard playing wife, who has a master's in the piano, didn't quite know what to do. But we played it at one of our coffee houses, and everybody loved it. So, okay, it's on the record. So it took no time at all to record, because they didn't give it much time. They said, okay, it's fine. It's good enough. It's good enough. And then we decided, because people were leaving the group for other reasons. One of the biggest problems we had with Sonseed was, once we got to be fairly popular, is at the end of the show, our shows, people would line up in the aisle to be prayed over. Now, we had a ton of equipment to move. So what would happen is the musicians would be packing up the amps and the PA system and everything. And most of the singers would be standing there in the aisles praying with people, which is fine. But we had to have a meeting after that and decide, are we a healing ministry? Are we a prayer ministry? Are we a music ministry? What's our focus? What's our purpose here? So we decided to stay as a music industry. And as a result, people who felt other callings in their lives left the group. Now, because you can't really hire somebody in a band if you're not paying money, well, what's your pay? Great God's grace. You know, you can't pay too many bills with that. So the group got smaller and smaller and smaller. And in that time, we got contacted by this TV show, NBC in New York. It's called The First Estate, Religion in Review. It was kind of like an ecumenical talk show. Like the show we were on, they had somebody from the Salvation Army mentioning their upcoming charity functions. And they had two young rabbis who taught the Old Testament using marionettes. They called it Punch-in' Judaism. It's kind of cool. It's kind of creepy, actually, but it was effective. So they called us. We'd like to have, because you're all Catholic, it's an odd thing to have a Catholic gospel band, or we'd like to have you on the show. Well, we had a meeting, and how we looked, that was totally them. They asked us, what do you guys wear when you play? Oh, t-shirts and jeans. Oh, not for television. You have to wear nice clothes. And blue is very nice. So wear blue. The girls should wear blue. And the guys wear vests. Vests looked very nice. So that video, which looks kind of corny at the time, well, it was 1982, they dressed us. They did the whole thing. And we were going to move our lips to a couple of songs on the record. It wasn't until we got there that day where they set us up around a piano, and they said, okay, we're going to open the show with that Jesus is a Friend of Mine song. So everybody was kind of surprised. So was I, actually, because my wife, Patricia, had written some really great songs for that record. And we did one of her songs later on in the show. So, okay, fine, we'll do my song. It's cool. And it was fun. We did it. And about a year later, I guess, we decided we were losing enough members. Patricia had wanted to make her own records using her own music. So Sonseed, we announced we were disbanding. That was the only show we ever sold tickets for, because we wanted to know how many chairs to rent. We had to rent out a high school. And we did 2 shows in a day. And we had 1,200 people for the matinee and about 1,100 or 1,200 for the evening show. We did 2 shows in that day. So we were pretty popular, but that was it. After that, we did some stuff with my first wife. She took Sonseed's rhythm section, the guitar player and the drummer, and me, and we made a couple of records, which did okay, but nothing great. And forgot all about it. That's it. I would eventually get I would sometimes get phone calls from kindergarten teachers. Hi, our kids are graduating kindergarten. We'd love to sing your song. Can we? Yes, you have my permission. Go ahead. Zoom ahead to 2010. I get a phone call from a theater that I had done some theater work at. And he says, I got a phone call from someone in California that's looking for you. Were you ever in a group called Sonseed? I'm like, yeah, why? He goes, well, look, I didn't want to give him your phone number, but here's his phone number. So I call the guy up and I says, hi, yes, I'm Sal. This is from Sonseed. Do I owe you money? Did I date your sister? What can I do for you? So he asked me if I was near a computer, and I was. He gave me a website to look at, and it was a blog, a pop culture blog, like where a lot of Where Are They Now stuff. And on his blog was our video from that TV show in 1982. I says, where did you get this? He says, I lived in Brooklyn at the time, and a friend of mine saw the video and he gave me the thing. A couple of months ago, I was looking for stuff to do on my show, and I found this videotape. He didn't preface it. He didn't say it was 30 years old. He just put it on his show. And people thought it was fake. Well, obviously it looked fake. Luckily, we were playing people from the 80s. He entered it in a video gong show, and Jane Weedland from the Go-Go's gonged it, and she was roundly booed by the audience. If I ever run into Jane Weedland, I'm going to put that in her face.
Yeah.
But not too long after that, somebody took it off his blog and put it on YouTube. Well, I found it on YouTube, and I logged in as a YouTube user. That's me. I'm the guy. I wrote that. And then the whole thing kind of like blew up after that. I found that they were selling T-shirts on Cafe Press with my picture on them. So I called them up and I says, I didn't sanction that. So they pulled it. But luckily, I had copyrighted the song back then in 1981 when I wrote it. So the property of the song is mine. And then I started getting emails and fan mail from Germany and Brazil, and very big in Scandinavia for some reason, Sweden and Denmark. It was really kind of cool for a while. But then it blew up completely in 2014. I got an email from a guy in England, Paul Williams, who told me, he says, hi, my name is Paul Williams. I run an annual charity ska reggae festival. Now, I had heard the ska connection years before, so okay, I get it. Because it's a ska song. And he goes, everybody here knows your song. He says, the bands know it. It's still pretty popular here. We'd love to have you come to the festival. Any of the bands will volunteer to play it with you. We can't pay you, but we could put you up for the weekend and feed you. So I said, let me think about it. I told one of my sisters, I said, this is stupid. No one's going to know what. It's going to fly across. I had never been to England either. So my sister, who had business associates in London, said, you have to go. Don't you realize the things we regret in life, most of the things we don't do? I'll go with you. So two of my sisters came with me. We flew to this. It wasn't in London. It was in this little seaside town in southern London, England. And everybody knew who I was. All the bands knew me. 3/4 of the crowd knew me. I was taking selfies and signing autographs. I was like, what's going on here? I couldn't believe it. And it wasn't really the religious aspect. It was the fact, and I found out years later what the attraction was the fact that two-tone ska was getting big in England in the early 80s. So the fact that an American wrote a two-tone ska song in 1981, that was a big deal. I mean, people were calling me legend. Yeah, right, I'm a legend. But I've been to that festival now since 2014. I've been there 7 times. It's every November. I go almost every year, and I never have any trouble finding bands to play with. And it's such a fun thing. I mean, sometimes they do get the religious aspect. I mean, it's nice to have people, kiss your butt and want to take pictures, but every now and then you get a story, and it happened 3 or 4 years ago when I went. I had a guy come up to me and say, with the program from the festival, he says, could you sign this and address it to my friend? I don't remember what his name was, Bruce or something. He goes, I have a friend of mine that was a drug addict, and he's trying to quit, and he's having a very difficult time. But every time he has a hard time realizing, I play your song for him. And it seems to give him confidence or brighten his mood. So if I tell him I ran into you and you gave him your autograph, it would really make a difference. So I said, wow, okay. So I did that. Well, the next year at the festival, that same guy comes up to me and he says, "Hi, you remember me?" I said, "Sure do. I want you to meet my friend Bruce." And the guy came up to me and he says, "I've been clean for 3 years." He says, "I want to thank you." And I said to my wife, and I says, "You know what? This is why this happened. That's why this happened. Not to make money, not to have people know me, not to leave a legacy, not to any of that crap. It's just because it affects people. You're right. The power of prayer is very, very prevalent. And I may not go to church as much as I used to anymore, but that doesn't mean I don't believe. It doesn't mean I don't have faith. And that it carries a lot of weight. And yeah, it makes a difference. So yeah, I'm very, very happy about that and proud of that.
Well, with that song, it's been played by many different bands.
Oh, yeah.
It's also been on Glee. It was on Glee. And how did that feel seeing that years and years later and you see it on TV on Glee?
Well, it was on TV before that. Um, I got a phone call. There used to be a sitcom, Community,
Oh yeah, Community. Yeah.
Chevy Chase,
Uh-huh.
and the
Uh,
black woman comedian, very funny.
Danny Glover, not Danny Glover.
No, the woman, female comedian.
Oh,
Uh,
so many.
anyway, they called me up and they says, "We'd like to use a bit of your song on our show." So I said, "All right." I figure I'm going to get some money for it. So they offered me whatever it was. It wasn't a heck of a lot, but okay. So I says, "When is the show going to be aired?" The show's going to be aired in 3 weeks. The premise of the show was they were having a Christmas party, and people on the committee at the college were all of different religious denominations. So they were arguing about how to do the holiday party. And then she goes, "Oh, come on, guys, get together. Come on. Jesus is a friend of mine. Come on, you know it. Sing. Jesus is a friend of mine." That's it. That's all they did. And I cashed a check. And it was fun. About 2 years later, I get a phone call from somebody. Now, at this point, I don't know that I was even on Facebook. I don't think at this point. I get a phone call. "Hi, I'm so and so from Sony Pictures in California. Um, I work with the show Glee." I says, "Oh, we and my kids, we watch it all the time." He goes, "Well, we'd like to use your song in the show. The premise is there's the regional competition, and Jane Lynch's character has tradered over to another school, and she finds out that one of the judges is a nun. So she wants to do a religious song to kind of grease the skids a little bit. Well, we decided on your song." I said, "Oh, okay." And they were going to pay me a little more than the other one. She goes, "We're going to film it tomorrow." She goes, "If you lived closer to us, I'd ask you if you wanted to come and watch the filming. I wasn't going to fly 3,000 miles just for that." So I said, "Okay, well," she says, we'll call you. I'll call you tomorrow and let you know how it went." So the next day she calls me and says, "Well, it went great. The check's in the mail. Look for the show in 2 weeks." Okay. Well, I don't know if you've seen that clip. You can find that clip on YouTube of the performance on Glee. It was hysterical. It was we thought, especially when they made the Star of David at the end, very, very funny. But it's cool. It is what it is. I wrote this little thing and it's like herpes. It goes away and every few years it just flares up again.
Oh man, only you would call your own music STD.
What are you gonna do? It is what it is. Like I said, and it's funny. People that meet me, especially people in England or whatever, I do interviews like this. They go, "Oh wow, you're such a nice guy. How do I not be a nice guy? You think I planned this? This is all a happy accident. This is just luck that all this happened to me. And I'm gonna beat this. I'm gonna beat this horse until it drops dead. Let me tell you."
But it really it set out to what it was supposed to do. It was supposed to plant a seed,
And
and it
apparently it
sprouted.
has.
And you're on all these social medias. You're on YouTube Reels. Your music's used on in TikTok. You got all this, and you're a household name now. The hair. The hair. Is that one thing that you miss the most? Is that hair? I wish I had that hair. I take this off, I'd put you to shame.
Yeah, I had a Donny Osmond thing going on back then. Yeah. I miss the hair. I miss my eyes too, but I just had cataract surgery a couple of days ago on one eye, and I'm getting the second eye done hopefully in a month. And it makes a big difference not having to wear these things anymore. It's kind of refreshing. But yeah, I miss the hair a lot. And I keep telling my wife I'm going to shave my head. And she goes, "Don't you dare." Okay, fine, whatever. It's up to you. You're the one that has to look at me.
Yeah. Hey, it is it's so cool to meet you and to actually meet the guy behind the legend, what people call you, the legend. You're the legendary Sal, and from you have anything to tell the audience about any kind of, because there's people out there that want to write that perfect catchy song like yours, uh people who strive to get something to go out there and be there for years to come. Do you have any advice?
That that, my friend, this is the only song I've ever written. That's it. And every time and there's not that many times I've sat down to try to write another song. Uh, First of all, I don't have an area for it, a place to put it. Um, but the other thing is that I realized the song, I listened to it and I go, that was so clever. The lyrics were so clever. I'm not that smart. I don't think I could be that clever again. Um, but at the time, that's what resonated with me. That's what I felt. Um, I mean, there are people that you could tell the bands or the songwriters that have lasted. Because you can write just for the money, just to write pop songs, just to write. Well, that's what Carole King did for years, and people like that. The other Paul Williams, they just wrote songs to make money. Or you can write from personal experiences, and those are the people that wind up with staying power, because the songs make more sense to people because some of them can relate. My advice would be, if you're going to do something like this, you want to write what you know, and no matter how, because you'll do edits, write it all down. You'll read stuff and you go, let me change that, let me change this, but eventually you'll find something that may as long as it makes you happy. That's the most thing. This song, even before this thing just blew up like crazy, I was proud of it. I was still proud of it, even before all this happened, because it was something I did. I had never done this before. I had never written a song before that people did. And even when we did concerts with my first wife, with her, because we made 2 albums of really great, great Christian pop music. But even in her concerts, we would do the song. He says, "Now my husband Sal, we're going to do his song, one of his. That was my only one." And so I was always proud of it. And just do something you could be proud of. That's all. I can't tell you how to write a lasting meme or a hit, because that was just dumb luck. That just happened. But you never know. It happened to me. It could happen to you.
Yeah, and if you write from your heart, from your emotion, from where you came from,
Exactly.
a lot of times that holds weight throughout the years because it starts resonating with other people
Yep. Exactly
instead
right.
of just putting anybody can put paper words to paper and go out there and you see it, they'll hit the charts and then they disappear and
Right.
you never hear from them again.
Right.
But it's the ones that still have play those songs. AC/DC still has all those songs from when they start. They're still playing them. It still holds weight.
Yep.
They have millions and millions of fans out there because of the way the music was made.
Yep. And that's a shame about them too, because they haven't. I, I don't think they've done anything since the brother passed um, in ACDC, and and Johnson too. He left because his hearing is gone.
Yeah.
So I think they're kind of like nowhere now, ACDC. But I always thought they was so much fun.
Well, I got a chance to hear them a couple months ago at the Dallas Cowboy at the AT&T Stadium.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they played. I think it was one of the sons that took over. I just
Okay,
can't remember his name at
could
the
be,
moment. But
could be.
it was an awesome show. They were still doing it. Uh,
Well, Angus Young is just
yeah.
fabulous.
Uh-huh. He played a guitar solo for 30 minutes. I don't know how he did that. I I got exhausted watching him. You
See,
know.
that's true with the Eagles. After Glenn Fry died, Glenn Fry's son toured with them briefly.
Hmm.
So yeah, that would make sense. That one of them would have at this point, one of them would have a kid old enough to to do that.
Yeah, even Van Halen, Wolfgang
Right,
played for a little bit.
right, right.
So, which is awesome. Counting Casting Crowns, they kind of bring their families to take over after retired. Their sons or daughter will take over. It's kind of like passing the torch of your
Sure.
legacy to your children.
I mean, a couple of months ago, we saw the Happy Together tour. It's the Turtles. They put it together. Of course, there's only one of them. I mean, they're both still alive, Howard Kaylan and Mark Volman, but Howard Kaylan is very sick. So Mark Volman. Uh, but there's also all these groups from the 60s, the Association, Jay and the Americans. Uh, and the last tour we went because I wanted to see the Cowsills.
Hmm.
The Cowsills?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? There's only one brother and one sister left alive. The rest of the band are their kids. So it is basically still the Cowsills. It's not like where Jay and the Americans played, the backup band backed them up, or we saw Three Dog Night there one year. There was one guy from Three Dog Night and the band backed them up. The Cowsills were the Cowsills. Their sons were playing the guitar and the bass and the drums and the keyboards and all that stuff. It was really cool.
The Calcio, the next generation.
Yep. It is what a good song is a good song. Let's face it, and, and
Mhm.
and people like to hear it. They'll always want to hear it. And I wonder how many of the pop songs, speaking of the pop genre, I don't listen to a lot of rap or hip hop, not because I have anything or any listen to a lot of current rock either. Not that I have anything against newer music. It's just I don't have the time or the energy to invest myself in it at my age. If I put the radio on in the car, I'll put on classic vinyl. Well, I hear all the songs I grew up with. That's where I prefer to make my investment. But I wonder how many of these songs written in the, performed in the last 10, 20 years are people going to be singing 50 years from now? Probably not that many.
Yeah. And a lot of issues with that is because of the internet, and it pushes out everything. You can get everything instantly,
Yep.
and
Yep.
it gets caught up in the flood. It gets caught up in the waves because you can have a really awesome band, and then it gets muffled by 10 mediocre bands. But like you said, you kind of go to where you feel comfortable in
Sure.
because of good memories.
Sure.
Sometimes I'll slip into the 80s because I love the 80s, and sometimes
Except for the clothes and the hair. Come on now.
hey,
I apologize right now for what we were wearing in the 80s.
hey, Aquanet was my wife's favorite friend growing up in high
And
school.
shoulder pads. Oh my God, shoulder pads.
Hey, hey, some of that stuff comes back around. Bell bottoms come back around.
Yep.
The 70s, gave us bell bottoms, and
But
then
I
you,
did read something in some or hear something that some psychologist said, because I was talking to my kids, my daughter. I says, it's a shame. I don't know any Adele, Taylor Swift, Kanye West, Beyonce, Lady Gaga. So it crosses all races and religions. I don't know any music at all past maybe 1998. Uh, and I started to feel bad about that. But then I read, I think I read an article in Reader's Digest. That's how old I am. I get Reader's Digest about some psychologist said that we feel more comfortable, especially when we hear songs that remind us of things that happened while we were younger, remind us of things in our past. And I guess that's the truth. And my band that I play with now, One Swift Kick, we play 50s, 60s, early 70s. Um, we play the same. I mean, we weren't in bands 50 years ago. We were in other bands 50 years ago, but these are the same songs we played when we were kids. We all saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. So we do a lot of Beatles. We do Rolling Stones. We do Roy Orbison. We do Monkeys. We do some Kinks. Um, but the problem is that we're running into is what you mentioned about the social media thing. That's a problem. We have a Facebook page, but a lot of times when you contact a club or a bar, or you want to play here, they look at your Facebook page. They go, oh, they don't have 2,000 followers. Like they expect you to give them business.
mhm.
And it's like, no, you're only paying us $100 a piece. I have to fill your bar for you. Don't you have a clientele that shows up? And that's the problem that we have. There are bands uh, that I know personally, nice guys. I mean, really nice guys, good people. And the bands are okay. They're okay. Some better than others, but they have a lot of followers. A lot of followers. Some of it well deserved, but some of it, it's like, wow, the only reason these guys are working so much because they have all these followers. There's another band that we're friends with. They happen to be one of the good ones, but they run into the same problem. It's the fact that there's only so many clubs. There's a million bands. Half of them will work for nothing just to play. So it's hard to play out. But like I said, we're all in our 70s. We've played out a lot. So, and we have fun. Like I said, we're playing later on today. So that's always something to look forward to.
Well, hey, Sal, we're coming to the end of the show. I appreciate you being on the show. It is awesome. If y'all want to go on and help support his current project, One Swift Kick, you can go on to Facebook and put a like. Tell them the Taco Man sent you.
Like the page.
Like the page. They need more people so they can sell out in arenas.
Yeah,
Be the yacht rock specialist.
Joe's Bar and Grill. Yeah.
Joe's Bar. The bar of soap, the laundry slash coffee shop. But hey,
Gotcha.
but thank you so much for being on the show.
No
That
problem.
song had brought a lot of good times and fun, and it's easy to hum to. I'm just thankful that you had brought that song to the world.
Well, thank you very much. Like I said, it was a happy accident that this whole thing happened, but I really appreciate everything and everybody. Thank you.
All right. Well, guys, this is the end of the show. If you like what you hear, you were here towards the end, please hit that subscribe button. Go on the social media. Just tell us if you love this episode and you want to see more. You want to see more of Sal. Maybe we'll surprise him one day. But I just want y'all to have a great summer, and we'll see you next time here on the Johnny Taco Show.
Stay safe.
Peace. If you like
That's
this
what they say in
episode
the
and you
old,
want to hear more,
country.
please like and subscribe to get the latest and the greatest from the Johnny Taco Show.